single target damage. They got a bit of AoE as well. So I guess we'll see how this plays out. But honestly, 4x4 as we get onto the Rift, I'm just looking at Fluxo. Can you get ahead and get your carries online? If not, I think Pain Gaming might just run you over.
Yeah, the late game kind of, yeah, the team fighting, like you said, it has a more of a clear identity here for Pain Gaming. I think in the late game, just kind of all things considered, that will be where the advantage will lie. But with Fluxo, I mean, yeah, you've got a decent amount of poke. The objective setup could be really, really gnarly if they can get to objectives first. They could poke you out, right? And even, if you can get to objectives second and play smartly around vision, you can, maybe whittle down opponents Pain Gaming as they get to objectives, but it's never quite that simple because if you are second to the objectives for the comp of Fluxo and you get jumped on, right? If Karaoke,
You walk in.
Bramble Smash, bam, and then Weiser goes in right on top of you, Rel goes in on top, like it's just gonna get like any one of these characters, the champions on Fluxo is just gonna get one tapped if they step out.
Yeah, it just feels like it's going to be so difficult for Fluxo if they ever are second, because again, Pain Gaming, they've got a very easy to execute comp, right? Press R, go in and make plays, and especially up against that Sivir that can run you down. It's going to be difficult, but Brunsey and JoJo, they're already off to a decent start here in this bottom lane as Damage not going to be able to trade back too much. And again, for Fluxo, I'm really looking at, with these changes, Brunsey, can you step up to be the big carry that your team has needed you to be so far this year?
Yeah, this feels like a bit of a, I mean, well, for all the, obviously the stakes are incredibly high for both these teams, but this could be a big show me game for Brunsey. I mean, Varus feels really bad if you can't get going early and win this lane. And look, you've got Varus Misfortune right now. The amount of, you could just make B-Boy and Damage's life miserable in the early game.
Yeah, you really can. Now, you do have to be careful of the all-in. B-Boy and Damage will be able to kill you if they get on top of you, whether or not it's Misfortune or the Varus. But again, as you say, so much long-range damage, so much poke to play around. Meanwhile, for Pain Gaming, we touched on it a little bit. Two threats in this composition, and I'm looking at B-Boy. ADC changes. Can you step up to be the consistent carry? Because I do think that consistency has been the issue that has plagued these teams. So I'm really wanting to draw a microscope onto the bottom lane. We do see Karaoke just walking in, getting a little bit of vision down on Disamise's clear. Might see a bit of a fight as it is B-Boy and Damage with the shove and bot.
Yeah, they've got that shove. I'd be surprised if they went for any sort of dive. And I think Karaoke, wise to the fact that Desames is waiting in his own jungle right there, right? Karaoke, yes, he cleared out that vision ward, but Brunsey and JoJo know where the danger is. They're a level down right now. I think, yeah, Karaoke might just try to be a nuisance here, but maybe no dive will transpire. But to your point, right, the clears have been bot focused, right? I mean, like you said, it's can the junglers get to bot? Pushing bot wins. And we've seen that so far with Desames and Karaoke just babysitting, watching, hesitant to even leave the bot lane should the other jungler try some shenanigans.
Yeah, Karaoke actually just sat in river and waited for Crab to spawn. Farmed 3 camps, walked in and got vision, realized that he would have to contest Crab or walk away and give it, and prioritized it so much that he just sat there waiting, which, I mean, it does seem like a waste of time, but now Desames has nothing to do, just going to go back, farm the respawn of the camp. So at the end of the day, Karaoke, I guess, will be more than fine with what happened and gets that protection critically for B-Boy and Damage, which again, we are looking at this bot lane to be the pivotal matchup of the game.
Dinketo, meanwhile, kind of having his way with House, kind of just poked him out of the lane, got him to burn his TP on the way back, and really not going to come back that much stronger with a tier and a longsword. Longsword's going to help, obviously, but he's grabbed himself some biscuits as well. Dinketo will not take any chances. He'll burn his TP as well. So even their flashing immediately damage. Gets the crash down. JoJo burns his flash, but everybody else able to hold on to their summoners. 2 summoners for 1. And Brunsey able to trade back damage decently here. Bit of a slugfest in the bottom lane. Bottom health bars being ticked down ever so slightly. But like you said, because of the initial clears there, Karaoke, like you said, maybe a waste of time. You can criticize maybe some aspects of it, but look, the guy got double scuttle. That's not nothing.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think Karaoke is going to be perfectly happy with how this game went, and I love that engage right there from Damage, trading flash. You've got the Hex Flash as the Rel, and we already see that threat of the all-in that there already is, and it's going to pull Dasami's down to this bottom side of the map just to cover this push from Bruncy and JoJo, fearing that Karaoke could be nearby. He's going to leave now before the wave gets in, so there could be some threat for Pain Gaming down on this bottom side here should Karaoke want to come in. There are quite a few red wards in the bottom river, so they will spot out the tree should he come, and Bruncy and JoJo, it looks like they're just going to be able to take their base, or JoJo at least is going to take a base.
He'll take a base. He took the Spell Thieves as well. Took that AP item early and grabs an Amp Tome for his troubles. So you see the damage profile shaken out here, and I don't know. I mean, I suppose that's fair enough. What do you think? Or is this making a mountain out of a molehill here?
Oh, I don't even know. I don't know what to make of this, to be honest. It's not something I'm too accustomed to seeing in
fair enough.
in my League of
Same
Legends
here. That's kind of
games.
why I passed it off to you. I'm like, maybe he knows something I don't.
I mean, it's gonna do poke. It's gonna poke. You know, that's my hard-hitting analysis right here. Lots of poke coming through from this pick. As Maokai got nerfed, but those saplings still do quite a bit of damage onto Dasami's, and I'm sort of looking at this Lilia pick to also be something. I'm curious as to what Fluxo has up their sleeve with this one, 4x4, because we haven't seen a blind pick Lilia too often, and they went Lilia Jace on 2-3 and flexed the Jace into the mid matchup. Pow's going pretty even in the mid lane, but clearly they wanted something with the AD mid, AD top out of this Lilia jungle. And so I want to see Dasami's have a big impact on this game. I'm waiting for the level 6 to come online. That is virtually the only CC outside of Chains of Corruption that this Fluxo roster has. So what was the prio on this Lilia about? Is it going to be able to have the impact that they hope it does? If you're a Fluxo fan, am hoping so.
Yeah, I'm glad you point out that is kind of the only reliable CC here, because Lilia, she can get the Dream Dust onto a bunch of onto a few champions with relative ease here. And she is fully a melee champion now, I believe, was the change. And so Demonic Embrace gonna feel a little better on her, but a little worse after the nerfs. There goes the E Wiser. Gonna trade back some damage here. Tay drop down the ultimate. So not that no trigger pulled yet, but you like if that E would have connected there from Dasamis, I think Wiser might have been a dead duck. And yeah, but again, the team fighting is going to be really rough for Fluxo, which heightens the importance on the early game, whether it's Dasamis, like you pointed out, or whether it is How's Brunzy and JoJo. I mean, they've drafted themselves pretty annoying lanes to deal with, but so far, not really getting that initial impact that you want. And to boot, Pain, they were first to that Earth Dragon.
Yeah, they did manage to get that dragon away with that bottom priority that they had. We can see Bruncy and JoJo now getting a bit of an advantage, but with Bruncy actually opting not to base and instead of harassing Beefaway out of the lane, it's just going to be Pain Gaming starting up this Herald. So getting both early neutrals again with what felt like a lane-focused composition. And this does sort of lead me to the questions that I had about this Fluxo draft. They drafted a bunch of weird picks, but not really as counters. I mean, the Misfortune was not a support counter pick. The Lilia was a jungle counter pick, I guess, but the Jace, again, blind into his ear as a flex pick. Just lots of interesting decisions. And outside of a marginal bot CS, well, maybe slightly significant bot CS lead, there's not really much going on so far for Fluxo. So I need to see something, again, out of Dasami's, out of Bruncy as well, out of JoJo, unlock these lanes, find a way to early skirmish before Wiser, Karaoke, and Damage become too tanky, too quick for this composition to handle.
Yeah, you got to make it happen right now. The CS advantage is good for Bruncy. With that first base, Dasami's going to come back with a blasting wand. He had the CDR boots. Sorry, the ability haste boots. Picked up.
Come on, 4x4. You know, it's 2023, man. Like,
seriously, I'm behind. It's been.
I definitely don't still call them ninja tabbies. I definitely don't
never.
Do that, so.
Never.
Pink words? Couldn't be me.
Dinketo once again burning his teleport to get back to lane. He is perfectly fine to just sit here and farm this out. Yeah, I think Dasamis after that back. Lilia can lane gank decently, right, with that Swirl Seed. If you get that Dream Dust down, yeah, able to take advantage of the fact that she knows, look, that burst is probably going to be warded. If I take the conventional path, I'm going to get probably seen out here. Dragging out for another couple minutes. The Summit's not able to find a way into this one. Dinketo pushed up a little bit. Yeah, the clock is ticking here.
And
Ain't going to be much better able to execute their composition. Karaoke
hold on.
waiting in the wings there. Actually, the Emperor's Divide just went out. Swirl Seed out. Going to find nobody. Damage. It's a 3v2. Wanted to pull the trigger, but a little too close for comfort to the tower. How's getting poked out a little bit. Jojo has joined the fight. Going to throw down the Make It Rain with that little extra AP. Going to feel a little nicer. There goes a Twisted Advance. Gets a CC down there onto the Summits, and he can do nothing. Who's going to bed now? Sleepy time for Lilia. She heads to the gray screen. First blood for Pain.
Really nicely done from Pain right there. They just knew exactly where the threat was coming from. The observers highlighted it a bit, that line of blue wards. They knew where Desamas was. They knew exactly how many members Fluxo had, and I think it was a mistake from Desamas to step up that far into Damage's face and get taken down. Nicely done by Pain.
Yeah, I really do think, I mean, Maokai Ultimate, one of the changes that maybe it was just, I didn't hear it talked about a ton, but I think part of what made him so darn potent at Worlds and then even now, that ult moves so quick. That thing just zooms across the map. It's got ramping movement speed right now, and it can catch you off guard, right? It just gives you so much less time to react because all you can do is walk backwards. You can't sidestep that. All you can do is walk backwards, and it had sub counterplay in that sense, but right now, no. And Karaoke, even just with that assist, he's on that demonic embrace right now. Again, that item got some tweaks. Maokai got some tweaks, both in the negative direction, just to be perfectly clear. And yeah, look at this deep vision here, right? I mean, Pain, it felt like we're playing defense, right? Desamas looking for a way in. Karaoke just there at every opportunity to meet him and have a response. And now, with that advantage, you talk about that line of blue wards pushing ever deeper, encroaching into Fluxo's territory.
Fluxo just can never operate in any sort of secrecy. They're always going to be known where their team is. Now, you were talking about in the draft, Fluxo, you need to be first to objectives. You need to be able to poke out Pain before they arrive, and they have arrived at the Dragon first. They have leashed the Dragon first, and Ty has first move coming down from the top lane. So as long as they can not get engaged on before Ty arrives, or no, Ty going back to the top lane, Fluxo maybe calling off the 5v5 on the Dragon. This is an interesting split call. It seems like neither team exactly knows what to do. Pain, they will fade to the mid wave. Fluxo, you are on the clock now. Damage has been chunked out pretty significantly. Dragon once again getting leashed. I'm looking at damage for the engage. He's got Hex Flash.
And that's what you want to see. There goes the bullet time, creating some space, but out goes the Twisted Advance once again. Dragon not in spite range. Does damage? It might be a one-way trip for him, but he does get the CC down. But now How's looking to return fire. How's and Brunsey actually on the kill with two of them, one for each. Neither top laner able to join the fight. Both their TPs are coming off cooldown, and Fluxo actually come out on top there.
Okay, Fluxo, they managed to get it done. They're first to the play, and after a little bit of indecisiveness, they bait the engage. B-Boy forced to spell shield and get away, but damage, it looked like a decent engage. Hex flashing over the wall, getting into the back line, but the follow-up from B-Boy and Dinketo just wasn't quite there, and we do see a little bit of the shortcomings of the lack of range for Pain Gaming. I'm sure we'll get another look at that fight pretty soon, but nice Dragon take by Fluxo.
Yeah, I think the observers are just making sure that nothing, forgive the awful pun, that the powder keg doesn't go off here in the top lane. I promise you that's what I was going to say, and then I realized that I was terrible. I'm going to stop talking. Here's that replay we wanted.
Yeah, and so, I mean, nice zoning ult, honestly, from Jojo. Just forces B-Boy and Dinketo to step back, and damage gets 3 members of the enemy backline, but Azir, Sivir, just so far away. Damage gets one shot before they're able to arrive, and from that point, there's just no fight to be had. The Sivir and the Azir are not in a position to 2v4 whatsoever, and it feels like in general, they don't quite have the item spikes that Pain Gaming is looking for, and that allowed Fluxo to find a big fight. That might just be what Fluxo needed. We need, or wanted rather, to see them get ahead early in this game, look to make plays, and not let Pain Gaming just team fight them 5v5 in the late game. Well, finding fights like that, finding this bottom lane tower is a great start. Yeah,
you're telling me they needed that and actually take first tower as a result. Because I guess that's the other part of that we didn't really talk about. Okay, sure, Fluxo maybe weren't finding the advantages in lane that they wanted to, but and Pain were doing a good job of absorbing pressure, right? Karaoke had gotten 2 of the first 3 neutral objectives. It looks like he's going to grab 3 out of 4 here with this second Herald. And even that first Herald, they weren't able to break down a tower with it. So it's not like Pain, their counter punches haven't been incredible so far. It's looking like we're going to get a 1v1 here in the bottom lane between the two. Well, now I was going to say the 2 top laners, but it's the top laner and a mid laner. Here comes Ty to House's defense, disrupting the honorable 1v1.
That was definitely one of the teleports of all time. Ty just giving up top lane tier 1 for free. I don't really know about that one, to be honest. Ambitious, perhaps, from Ty. And as you said, Pain Gaming, their counter punches are landing. Look at the gold advantage. It is dead even. 1 dragon apiece as well. Really, the only thing that separates these two teams is the Herald and Karaoke's pocket. So while we can say, yeah, Fluxo, they found one good fight. They got sort of what they wanted. They're not really that far ahead. I do feel like Pain Gaming is still going to be able to scale up. And B-Boy and Dean Cato are going to be in that position where they can carry the game. Now, Howls, with that first turret bonus, is pretty rich at the moment. So if we're looking at who in the kitchen can cook for Fluxo, if there's quite a few cooks in the kitchen, maybe he could be the one. But Pain, I feel like they're sitting in a good spot. I need to see more out of Fluxo. We've got the first one, but as I said, it was a start.
And it was a good one, but it was just that. Now you're going to see as Ty hitting that Essence Reaver first. That's kind of mandatory these days on Gangplank, but doesn't feel nearly as bad because you could delay that mythic item to even third, right? Because if you can go Essence Reaver Devori, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, you are back to crit plank status. And that's what he's trying to get to. Down 20 CS to Wiser, right? Don't let the fact that Wiser's got a mythic item fool you necessarily, right? Yes, mythic item's supposed to kind of go first, if you will. They give you a bigger spike. They scale better into the late game with the bonuses they give the rest of your inventory. But Ty is feeling all right so far, except for maybe that sus teleport. But outside of that, doing okay. Desumus got his hands on the demonic embrace as well. And with another dragon up here, it will be a Cloud Soul, which if how you describe a composition like you did for Painhawk, if how you describe them is press R and go in, people meme on Cloud Soul, but it does help that out quite a bit.
Yeah, I don't think you can complain about that at all. You're going to have a Sivir that's zooming across the map, and imagine the Stranglethorns going out too, leading the charge. There is quite a terrifying press R, and again, Fluxo, they don't want to let that happen, and what I would really like to see out of Fluxo is find a way to get out of this 1-3-1 scenario. Wiser is going for a 1v1 on Howls.
Yeah, they're the same level here. Wiser going to get a little bit of a shield down. How's able to flash away. Ty, that is the help from across the map we wanted to see. Cannon Barrage goes down. Now, Jojo, is he able to get the damage necessary? I don't hate that, honestly. You've got good CDR there on your ultimate. You've gone into AP, right? Just throw those abilities down, see if you get something. And Wiser has no MR.
I don't know, though. Because Dragon's spawning right now, so that's just bullet time and Cannon Barrage down for nothing. Wiser has teleport as well. Fluxo, they're in a bad spot.
Nature's Grasp, oddly enough, for the first time in what feels like forever, doesn't actually find anybody. And actually, Desumus with the counterpunch there, Brunsey able to grab himself his second kill of the game. They're able to catch Wiser out. He was low, took a bit of a greedy, maybe try to get back into the fight for his team as he saw one breaking out. House dealing a ton of damage. Brunsey making it rain as well. You're right. Actually, I'm glad you called that out because that ultimate from Jojo being wasted right there might have bit them in the behind, but Fluke's able to find a pick and all's well that ends well.
It's like you said, with the Nature's Grasp somehow not hitting anyone, it actually turns around the fight in Fluxo's favor. Nice turn on a Wiser who obviously has no flash, had no ghost either, and they take him down. So Fluxo ends up winning the exchange after I did not think that was a very good setup from them. And sort of as I was saying before, I really wanted to see Fluxo find a way to break out of these 1-3-1s because we saw Wiser take a favorable one-on-one up against Howls. And the one thing that Fluxo's composition has going for them is this immense range advantage over Pain. So if you're able to set up in a lane as 5 and siege, that is one way you can take advantage of this Pain gaming composition and sort of force out a response, force them to fight into your damage. And so I was waiting for that moment to come through. Obviously, things broke down a little bit. I'm still looking at that to be a solution, potentially look to break this mid-tier 1, even though the wave clear is immense from Sivir and Azir. I just think you've got to force Pain Gaming to respond to you, force Pain Gaming to fight into you. And that, what we saw, even though it was a little scuffed, was a way to do it.
Fluxo playing with the wind at their backs a little bit, and not just because they were able to secure a Cloud Soul off the back of that. Another 1v1 there up on the top side. This time it's Ty and Wiser. Ty actually able to get decent damage down. The Cannon Barrage will be enough. Two very good Cannon Barrages from Ty. Who says he can't play carries? Gets the kill there onto Wiser.
Ty's starting to have an impact on this game, and 4x4, we've not really talked about Ty too much in this game, but I mean, Ty's been a player that has struggled this year, and now Fluxo, they might be struggling.
Yep, this is what we were talking about. You can set up all you want, but if you get jumped on by all that CC, somebody is going to die. Thankfully for Fluxo, it is JoJo. They get a pick onto the support of Fluxo, but they trade one right back onto Karaoke. No jungler up. I don't think they go for the Baron here, but they trade 1-for-1, but that was not an even trade.
No, definitely not. And Fluxo, everyone's just going to go for a recall. We'll see this one again again, it's basically Nature's Grass going out. That's the engage that you can see. But that's Flash off of damage to find that play, which, as you say, was just a 1-for-1. Interesting choice fighting without B-Boy there. Maybe they thought they could get a quick couple of picks and get out. It definitely was a nice angle, but seems like the story we've seen so far for Pain is that they just haven't really been able to get their damage dealers on the same page as their tanks. We saw it with Wiser getting picked before the previous Dragon. We saw it at the first Dragon. We saw it now here again. But either way, Pain Gaming is on the back foot in this game, but only slightly as the gold remains even. And to continue the point I was making earlier about Ty, a player that has struggled so far this year in most of Fluxo's games, but in the one game that they won, it was off the back of an incredible Zac top game from Ty. So in the games where he is able to get involved, able to have an impact on the game, Fluxo looks pretty good. So Ty currently sitting at 1-0-1. Can you have that team fight impact that your team needs you to have? Maybe he is just the secret sauce for this team. I don't know.
And I think going back to the offseason when this roster was constructed, House was the belle of the ball in free agency as the bullet time not going to really do much to damage their Karaoke. Maybe look to take advantage of that. So I might hold my offseason point here. Both teams just kind of trading blows, throwing out blighted arrows and whatnot. But House is the belle of the ball for this Fluxo roster. They came into the league this year, taking one of the 10 franchising spots. And I think a lot of people thought, man, this is a super team. And also Ty's in the top lane. A lot of people, they have soured on Ty in the last couple of years. Ever since that I feel like 2020 Worlds when he actually has to burn a flash here. That's not great. When he TP'd onto the ward right in front of him on Urgot, that felt like the beginning of the end for Ty. But this is a guy that, look, you don't just get picked up kind of for no reason. He brings a lot to rosters that maybe have underperformed. But right now, I think some fans have thought, man, this Fluxo roster would be crazy. Ty's kind of holding them down. And I guess that's one way to look at it. But another way to look at kind of that point is Karaoke being chunked out of this fight has to throw out the Nature's Grasp just to stay alive. This is what we want to see out of the comp of Fluxo. But going back to my previous point, people thought, man, but if Ty can get to his ceiling, then this team goes from an 8 to a 10. The anchor comes up.
Yeah, truly. It truly does because, I mean, the rest of the team, while we've talked about the struggles that House and Bronzy have had to be consistent carries, they've looked good, I think it's fair to say. Like, Fluxo has looked good. They've just struggled to be consistently great, and that's why they've struggled to find wins. And I do think that Ty has sort of been this weakest link, but again, their one win came off of the back of excellent play from their top laner. So it's not that it can't happen. It's not that we haven't seen it. And Fluxo, I love what they're doing. They're starting to do what I asked them to do. Get out of these side lanes, play sides to mid, look to group up and throw in poke, chunk out Pain Gaming before the fight. We saw, for example, that defensive ult from Karaoke. That was what we wanted to see. Now Fluxo, they take their third dragon of the game. They are on Soul Point. Pain Gaming, they've got their press R comp, but 25 minutes in, they have completely failed to find any fight where they're all able to press R.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up. So that's I was gonna kind of transition to that point. We talked about like the it's 25 minutes now. This is another one of the break points for okay. It was early game. It's the mid game. Now we're getting into the late game. We've criticized Fluxo in the early game initially for not being able to take maybe as much of advantage as we wanted with such strong lanes. But now the onus is kind of on Pain because this game, even though Fluxo seemed to have kind of come back into it, they've kind of just pulled their head above the you must be this fed to fight line. The ball is still very much in Pain's court because to your point, this is an easy to execute composition. Much easier to execute than
We've not seen it though, right? Like
Exactly.
that is the one thing I want to stress about this. It's an easy to execute composition. And granted, it's only 25 minutes in. I don't think this would be really considered. It's maybe the start of the late game. So it's not that it's needed to happen, but Pain Gaming has not looked like they're all on the same page when a fight has happened. And that's not to say that you can't find that one really good one, but I am just cautiously priming the fact that Pain Gaming has not found that look. And while we haven't needed to see it yet, it is concerning that we've not seen it at all. And Fluxo, now with just control in so many lanes, they're just moving as a team, trying to kill their final outer turret. This game is at a difficult point right now, and I'm looking for where Pain can find a chink in the armor and press all their buttons.
Ty has hit level 16. He's been on that 2-item spike for a little bit here. Everyone kind of getting even here. Everyone's kind of on 2 items, 2.5 items. B-Voy on that crit spike as well with the Navori Quick Blades. After grabbing that Kraken Slayer. Yeah, everybody else is kind of on the same footing here. So often you see at this point, teams kind of jockeying because they know, look, one fight could swing it. Let's just get to X item spike before we fight. Fighting on certain item spikes, you hear players talk about that all the time and the importance of that. Everybody's kind of at similar breakpoints here. It is just, I think, just going to come down to setup around whatever objective they choose to fight over. I don't think anybody would have taken Baron a little while ago, but now on the 27-minute mark, now maybe you start to look at a potential take, even for the composition of Fluxo, because Tay has hit level 16. He's on that huge 2-item spike. He's going to start pumping.
Yeah, this is the time to fight for Fluxo, as you say. They've got 3 items on Brunsey on this Varus. They've nearly got the Sereldas. Hal's actually taking a base. I wonder if he's got the Sereldas on base.
Ba-bam.
2 items on Ty, as you said. There's the Sereldas. Fluxo, your time to go is now. They've also finally taken all 3 outer turrets, which maybe a bit late is what we wanted. So if you want to go, let's go now.
The sleep is down. There goes the losing lullaby. Good night, sweet prince. Diketo, though, on the other side of the fight. And the ult does nothing from Jojo. Now to Summer showing back up in the fight, but isn't too little too late. How's in? He's got those 3 items. That's Cyrilda's level 16, but it's not quite enough. Weiser going all out, able to yoink House back into melee range, and B-Void does the rest. And Jojo might be next on the menu here. It's an ace for Pain Gaming. It started off well on one front for Fluxo, but went completely pear-shaped on the other.
Fluxo had the spikes, but Pain Gaming turns it around. Pain's gonna take the Baron off the back of that ace. They've still got their ADC to burn this one down. Weiser and Diketo really felt like the big carries of that fight. Give a shout to B-Voy as well for doing big damage, but what an Emperor's Divide that was for I4.
Yeah, I think you nailed it, right? Diketo felt like the big carry, even though the damage numbers might not have reflected because that Emperor's Divide was absolutely filthy. It started out here, and it ended on the other front.
Yeah, Brunsey just mispositioning just a bit, getting picked off, and that allows for Diketo to invest a flash, knocking in 2 out of 3 of the carries, and now House and Disamis, they actually do quite a bit of AoE with House one-shotting Diketo out of the Zonias, but the power of the Cassante is that as these... Ty is just dead again. I don't know what happened there, but as these fights sort of break down, he's able to just sort of unwillingly force somebody into a one-on-one to kill them off on the backside, and that's exactly what Weiser did to finish off Disamis and Pain. Now, with Baron in hand, after finally getting that fight that we wanted out of them, they are grouped up as 5, and you'd have to think that's a bit of a confidence booster. They want to go. Now, Fluxo, they've still got those items, but the waves aren't really in their favor, so Dragon looking like it's going to be given for free.
Yeah, and when you're up 3-1 on that front, you can afford to give that up, and when you've taken all 3 of the outer towers, you can afford to give up a little bit of pressure. But now this is Pain punching back. Now, this is what we wanted to see, even though it wasn't kind of your traditional, fight as five type of composition. And we talked about the range, type of fight, I should say. And we talked about the range advantage that Fluxo do have. I think one thing that I think both of us kind of knew could happen, but maybe didn't consider to happen as lethally, was Dinketo just exercising the full range of a potential all-in combo from Azir and punishing Brunsey for wasn't even an egregious misposition, but it was a slight one enough that Dinketo absolutely mopped the second-year AD carry for.
Truly, and I mean, we've talked about Cassante, Malachi, Rel, they're the tanks, they're the engaged, they're the frontline, right? Dinketo's like, nah, I'll show you guys how it's done. Finds the big engage with the Azir.
Man, JoJo, the later this game goes, the worse this misfortune is starting to feel. Can provide some zoning.
I'm not sold.
Yeah, it just feels like, the ults have been just a little ineffectual. He's got that mythic item, but right now, actually, whether it's because of him or whether it's because of that cannon barrage from Tay, able to withstand the push for now. And Ty, just a little too far forward there. Karaoke Weiser say, "Oh, look what I found."
Definitely a rather ambitious place to be on the map when the enemy team has Baron. But hey, it happens. Ty gets taken down. Not really finding that game impact. We started building it up. Ty might be the sauce if he's doing well, team's doing well. Well, Ty has not really done super well for the last 10 minutes or so. Has not really managed to find too much of an impact on this game. Not to say that he can't bounce back. Now sitting on 3 items, has the Gale Force online for this Gangplank. So definitely is a window to still get involved, but just worth keeping our eyes on. And Pain now just looking to take down the last outer turret and extend their gold advantage. Remember, this game was very, very even until the Baron was taken. Now, about a 4 will be 5,000 gold lead once this tier 2 turret falls. If, I should say, it falls, the Baron is off. So that is one positive for the side of Fluxo, but look at these gold numbers. Bvoy and Dinketo, the two at the top, the 2 carries for Pain Gaming.
That's exactly where you want the gold to be right now. They can shred. They are
3
absolute
items.
monsters in the late game. 3 items for each of them. 3.5 for Bvoy. Both he and Dinketo have crested the 300 CS mark. How's only just getting there. Another ult goes down from JoJo, and all you could do is sit and channel. The stopwatch goes down, able to flash out of it immediately. Now stopwatch actually burned by Dinketo here. The barrel's being set up. Able to take a bunch out of damage. There goes a cannon barrage as well. Fluxo on the chase. They feel like they've got an opening, and fair enough. The later this game goes, the harder it's going to be for them. But the damage just isn't that. The damage is landing okay, but
TP bot.
Yeah, well, now it's TP bot. But you see the disadvantage of Fluxo's composition. They don't really have a go button, right? It's up to the Summers to get the CC down for them to chase. That's it. No, they can't find that. Now they're on the back foot.
They really don't have that go button. This Lilia just has not really worked. Now, Fluxo just being pulled around the map. We can see that they do damage. Damage is chunked down to about 25%, but there's no way in. They can't get on top of them. House is trying.
He's doing his darndest. Karaoke goes right back in. House is huge. House is really big. I think he's going to be their way back into this one, but here comes Weiser. Gonna go all out. Eventually, you'd like to think, pops the ghost. Dinketo showing up to this fight, and this is where the numbers advantage might be too much. Tay showing up here. If he can get some barrels down and not get caught out, he could be a huge source of damage in this game, in this fight. House picking up another kill, just dragging this Fluxo roster to any semblance of hope here against Pain. And for now, maybe they withstood the siege, but man, that felt a lot harder than it had to be.
It feels impossible almost. How do you get in on somebody? House essentially just ran it down looking for kills. And now, to be fair, did get 2, but 2 were traded back as well. We'll take one more look as Karaoke just gets dragged very, very deep after the flash. But likewise, once the cavalry arrives for Pain, it's so difficult for Fluxo to control any sort of position. Dasamis gets taken down on the backside of the fight. JoJo without the flash drops to Weiser. Damage on the solo adventure does get taken down, but I just don't see the world in which Fluxo was able to come back into this game at this point. 35 minutes in, Pain Gaming, they've got everybody online. This is a full AP Maokai, by the way, for Karaoke, having the Leandries and Shadow Flame.
Yeah, my guy got a Shadow Flame.
to add a bit more damage. This is not messing around Maokai, and they're just going to pull the trigger on Baron. They are feeling strong, and they know it.
Yeah, and fair enough, right? I mean, even with the Shadow Flame,
Fluxo.
look, that's a bit of a Chad build. They're going to trade Baron for
Fluxo?
Soul here, which, yeah, I mean, Clouds, you've got to withstand another push at that point. The Cannon Barrage doesn't really do a ton here. Man, I don't know how I feel about that trade.
I'm honestly trying to figure out if Fluxo wanted to do that or if they didn't want to do that.
I feel like they were kind of forced into it. They felt like there was no
Yeah.
way they could get to the Barons. They said, look, we'll get something out of this. But
And we did talk about in the draft that Fluxo not able to fight into this Pain Gaming competition. So maybe that's the read. Hey, Pain Gaming's got first move in the top river. We'll just do our own thing and make them fight into us at the base. They do have pretty good wave clear with the Jace, the Varus, and the Gangplank. So perhaps they can try to weather this storm, but with the Nature's Grasp coming in, it's just so difficult to step up. Bullet time needing to be invested just to clear these waves. Dean Kato is chunked super, super low. Again, Fluxo does damage. They do damage with this composition. I cannot stress that enough.
Yeah.
It's just so hard to make it stick.
Did you see all those 4-digit numbers come up on that wave right there? Right? That's what you can do. Between Ty and House, I want to give credit to House here because it felt like he has been, when everything else has fallen apart for Fluxo, Jojo not having the game that he wanted. I mean, this misfortune, it was for lane, right? So you could fault him for not being effectual in lane. But right now, this wasn't why you drafted the misfortune. You're not expecting much from that pick right about now. But House just dragging his team, what feels like kicking and screaming into any semblance of hope in this late game. They've got to withstand another siege here. Another Baroned up power play, that lead ballooning 7 towers to 3, only up by 2 kills, but do not let the big numbers in the center of the scoreboard fool you. Pain are fully in control of this game right now.
Pain, they're sieging away at these towers. I'm just waiting for the moment where Karaoke, with the Nature's Grasp being back up, pulls the trigger laterally across this tower. You can see him posturing on that side of the wave as the inhibitors are falling. Fluxo, you got to draw a line in the sand somewhere. It's got to be at this inhibitor. But how do you go? You don't have engage. They're just going to get tripped.
Yeah, they're just bleeding out right now. This is death by 1,000 macro cuts for Pain, playing this late game out very, very patiently, daring Fluxo to fight into them, which, as we have determined and as we have seen, is looking like a very, very tough task. Final stand, here we go, but that is a whole heckin' lot of damage. There goes the sleep from Lilia. Knock up there onto Wiser. Wiser actually getting there onto Dinketo, and now House is down. There goes the shutdown. We were looking for the engage from a Maokai. We got it from the Azir. Again, Dinketo, the unlikely hero in this one, but we never expected anything less from this composition of Pain in the late game. Pentakill, just by the way, for Dinketo in the late game. Pain to take it. Fluxo in